Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the Access Media is clambering over themselves to defend Rings of Power in so many different ways. But today we're going to be looking at some Screen Rant ones where they're just trying so hard to defend, specifically Galadriel. It's just a lot of surprising stuff. I mean, well, not surprising coming from Shill Rant. These first two are defenses of quotes from Morfydd Clark, and they're just not great. So we're just going to go straight to the quote and see what we think of those quotes. So they're even coming about it. Why was she so arrogant in episode 3? And that's something that a lot of people noticed and made her extremely unlikable. And something that I very much focused on in my review is how dislikable she was in this scene in particular when she met Queen Muriel. It's just way too off-putting. It is way too far. Even whatever they're going for, this was too far. And looks like even Screen Rant is acknowledging it, but they're going to twist some sort of narrative out of this. And it's pathetic. So let's hear this quote that Morfydd Clark has to explain away her arrogance in episode 3. I'm quite interested in people not getting it right. What does that mean? Okay, humility is going to be a big part of her arc. All right, this is something that a lot of the stands have been saying. Oh, you don't understand that an arc needs to happen. Arcs are good. It's going to be an arc. Well, there's a few things I have to say to that. Arcs aren't absolutely necessary, and for a character like Galadriel who's lived for this long, an arc doesn't necessarily make sense. For immortal beings, arcs need to happen over such a wide period of time in a lot of cases. That would be partial, but the bigger one is the arc needs to start at a good point. You still need to like the character at the beginning of the arc, and she has shown zero interest in likability, and it's just not great. And there are a lot of other characters who can come off arrogant like she does, but become extremely likable because we see some vulnerability. Vulnerability is an essential part of an audience member connecting with the character and relating to them, and that vulnerability can come in a lot of shapes and sizes, but it's not happening with Galadriel. She's just an arrogant prick who's straight up racist to a lot of the Numenorians, and it's taken way too far in episode 3, but even in the first two, she's not at a good starting point, so it doesn't matter if her arc ends up being someplace good. And another thing to consider, this is episode 3. We're almost halfway through this entire series, and her arc hasn't begun yet, if there is going to be an arc. It's got to start more than, in the last half. That's not how arcs work. Arcs work through nearly the entire story itself. And so if it's not going to be an arc at this point, it's going to be, I'm Serenity. That's not an arc. That's a teleport, a character teleport. That's what's going to happen. So this argument with the arc doesn't have a whole lot of grounds because you got to start in someplace good and it's got to be gradual. There has been zero change whatsoever at this point, and she's just too far. And especially that scene with Queen Muriel, she was too arrogant to be likable. They took that scene far too into the realm of arrogance and racism and just general dislikability for it to work. It cannot work at this point because she is just that unlikable. Learning the limits of ourselves, there's an arrogance to them because they are in some way superior, but ultimately they have to gain some perspective. Now, normally that would be a good comment to make. Yes, elves do have a certain bit of arrogance, but it's more refined internal arrogance. They don't go, I'm better than you, I'm better. They don't do stuff like that. Legolas's arrogance is portrayed so well throughout the Lord of the Rings trilogy in his interactions with Gimli. And they come off snarky, they come off likable, and it's more in looks. It's not like she was in episode 2 talking to Halbrand. This is well beyond basic elven arrogance. This is, you're a bitch who we're Team Sauron now because of how much of a bitch you are. So that doesn't hold any ground either. And so it was seeing what mistakes even the wisest people could make that I focused on. Again, that falls into everything else. So Screen Rant really says that makes sense, but that's about it. Like, their big argument is, that makes sense. That's their big defense. So Shill Rant is already failing quite heavily in this first article that's defending Galadriel's character. Not doing so well so far. Now let's see about the second one. Now this one is focusing on how Cate Blanchett influenced Morfydd Clark's performance and how those characters are connected. Everyone knows that they're not connected in any way, shape, or form. book-wise, character-wise, likability-wise, attractiveness. They're just not even remotely related characters. So let's see what Morfydd Clark has to say about these two characters being similar. I think that it was the serenity that she has in the third age. Yes, absolutely. It was something really interesting to me to imagine my character not fully encompassing yet, because I feel that when any human goes through a spat of feeling all over the place, you don't feel the serenity is ever going to be within your grasp. A, she's not human, so that doesn't apply. The spat of feeling all over the place, you don't feel the serenity. And B, she constantly in interviews is constantly saying, I'm playing a young Galadriel. I'm playing an inexperienced Galadriel. That's why I get to be dumb and brash and violent, because I'm young. No, I had someone break it down in my comments. She's 8,000 years old at this point. The third age is only a couple thousand years. If anything, she's midlife crisis, late midlife. She's probably like the equivalent of a 50-year-old at this point for when she dies compared to when she goes back to the Undying Lands in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, no, you're not too inexperienced yet. No, you're not gonna just, your personality's not gonna rapidly change in that small space of time from an elf's perspective. She's not young, and so that argument has never held water when it came to Morfydd Clark. But now she's just like, oh yeah, this is going off the character arc that she was talking about earlier. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go on a character arc and become all serene and stuff like Cate Blanchett was, and it's gonna be beautiful. Doesn't make any sense compared to how old you are and how little time from an elf's perspective there is between this point in the second age and where she goes to the Undying Lands and we see her in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It doesn't make any sense. And again, it's going to be a character teleport if that is the intention, not a character arc, because at this point she's shown zero change in this season so far. She wraps it up, so that serenity would be kind of a surprise to the character as well. Yeah, it would be kind of a surprise because I don't think you're capable of that type of serenity. I don't think you're capable of even imitating Cate Blanchett. I'm sorry, Morfydd Clark just is not right for the role. It doesn't seem like she has the talent, and that's fine. I don't have the talent for it either. I'd be a terrible Galadriel. Is that bad to say? Whatever. But yeah, her character would be very surprised by the serenity because that character is also incapable of portraying that serenity as well, because this isn't the character of Galadriel. This is someone else entirely who's just an annoying bitch. And that's also irregardless of the books. She's just annoying, arrogant, and extremely dislikable, and there's no redeeming this character at this point. It has gone too far, so the character arc argument is null and void at this point for several reasons. So that's Shilrant's defense of Galadriel. And it's also like, oh yeah, she's right. They don't actually give any arguments to support this. It's just all background stuff. So Shilrant is like, oh, we're going to change your mind on these two things, but we're just going to give you the background stuff, listen to her quote, and be like, maybe that makes sense, and then go into something completely different. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.